When you hear the name Frankenstein, what pops into your head? Probably a big, lumbering, green guy with bolts sticking out of his neck, right? We all know that image. But the original story, written way back in 1818 by Mary Shelley, is so much deeper, so much more tragic. And it forces us to ask a really tough question about who we are, what we create, and what it truly means to be a monster. All right, let's get into it.
So let's treat this whole thing like an investigation. And the central question we're trying to answer is this. In this classic story filled with so much horror and sadness, who is the real monster? Is it the creature, literally stitched together from dead bodies? Or is it the brilliant scientist who brought him to life and then just ran away?
Okay, so let's meet our two main players. In one corner, you've got Dr. Victor Frankenstein. He's a genius, a brilliant scientist who's totally consumed by this wild ambition to create life. And in the other corner, you have the creature he makes, who doesn't even get a name. He's basically a newborn in an adult's body, thrown into the world utterly alone and just desperate for anyone to accept him.
To really get this story, you have to know where it came from. And get this, it was written by Mary Shelley when she was only 18 years old. It all started during a spooky, stormy summer on Lake Geneva. She had a terrifying waking nightmare, and that dream became the seed for a story that would tap into all the anxieties of a new scientific age. It really became the blueprint for what we now call science fiction.
This book was a total game changer. It's this amazing mix of spooky Gothic horror and brand new science fiction. See, this wasn't about magic, it was about science. Shelley was inspired by actual experiments of her time. Scientists using electricity to make the legs of dead frogs twitch. And that full title, The Modern Prometheus, that's a huge clue. Prometheus was the guy in Greek mythology who stole fire from the gods and was punished horribly for it. That's Victor. He plays God, and there's a heavy price to pay.
So, let's put our investigator hats on and start with the creator himself. First up, we're building the case against Victor Frankenstein. What did he do that was so wrong? Well, let's look at the evidence.
Victor's fall from grace is a step-by-step process. It starts out with a goal that sounds kind of noble, right? He wants to defeat death, but that ambition turns into a sick obsession. He locks himself away, he's robbing graves for body parts. It gets dark. And then comes the big moment. He succeeds. The creature opens its eyes, and this is where everything goes wrong. Victor is instantly horrified by what he's made. He doesn't feel like a proud father, he's disgusted. So he commits the ultimate sin. He runs, leaving his creation totally alone.
Towards the end of the book, Victor says this to an explorer he meets. And wow, is it a confession? He's basically saying, look at me, look at what my ambition did. I went too far. It's a bone-chilling warning that knowledge without responsibility is a dangerous, dangerous thing.
All right, now we have to flip the script. Let's look at the other side of the story. Let's make the case for the creature. Was he really born evil? Was he a monster from his very first breath? Well, the book tells a very, very different story.
This is probably the most important thing to understand. When the creature comes to life, he's a blank slate. He's not evil. Sure, he looks terrifying, but on the inside, he's curious, he's sensitive, and he is fundamentally innocent.
And here's the proof. Left on his own, he finds a family living in a cottage and secretly watches them for months. He learns how to speak, how to read, even how to feel compassion just by observing them. He reads books and tries to figure out who he is. Is he Adam, the first man, or is he Satan, an outcast? He desperately wants a friend. He even does good deeds like saving a little girl from drowning. But what does he get in return? Every single time he reveals himself, people scream. They attack him. They treat him with nothing but fear and violence, all because of his looks.
And that constant, brutal rejection is the breaking point. After he saves that girl, her father shoots him. The family he secretly loved throws him out. You can just feel something inside of him snap. The world's cruelty slowly poisons his good nature, and a new, vengeful person is born from that pain.
The creature himself says it best when he finally confronts Victor. Just listen to that line. I was benevolent and good, misery made me a fiend. He's basically shouting, I wasn't born this way. You and everyone else, you made me this way. It's maybe the most powerful argument for nurture over nature ever written.
Okay, we've heard both sides of the story. We have the case against Victor and the case for the creature. So it's time for a verdict. But before we can point any fingers, we have to change our definition of what a monster even is.
And this is the core idea of the whole novel. Real monstrosity isn't about how you look, it's not about scars or stitches, it's a moral failure. It's having ambition without thinking about the consequences, it's having prejudice instead of empathy, and more than anything, it's about creating something, and then failing to care for it. It's a failure of our basic humanity.
So with that new definition, the verdict becomes pretty clear. Who's the monster? Well, they all are, in their own way. It's a shared tragedy. Victor is a monster for his reckless ambition and neglect. Society is a monster for its blind prejudice. And the creature, twisted by all that hatred, becomes a monster through his acts of revenge. It's a vicious cycle of suffering, and they are all trapped in it.
So that brings us to the big question. Why are we still so obsessed with this story over 200 years later? The answer is simple, because the questions it asks are more relevant right now than they have ever been.
I mean, think about it. Every time we have a debate about the ethics of artificial intelligence, or gene editing, or cloning, we're having a Frankenstein debate. Mary Shelley was writing about our world just 200 years early. The story is the ultimate cautionary tale for any creator, any innovator. Be careful what you create, and be ready to take responsibility for it.
And so, this whole deep dive leaves us with one final, massive question for our own time. As we stand on the brink of creating truly advanced AI, maybe even new forms of life, what is our responsibility to them? Victor Frankenstein's failure is a timeless warning. What is our duty of care? And what happens if we, like him, create something wonderful and then just turn away?